It is my honor to present Washington SyCip, Chairman Emeritus of the Asian Institute of Management, who will give the welcome remarks.
Good evening to all my friends. On behalf of the Asian Institute of Management and its HERE's program, I'd like to welcome all of you to this launch of Professor Michael Johnson's latest book, Political and Social Foundations for Reform, Anti-Corruption Strategies for the Philippines. I had a special interest in the book because it was its genesis at a lunch meeting I had with Professor Johnson and Rod Hills in New York back in April 2006. Rod Hills is a former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission in the U.S. and the founder of the Hills program here at AIN. He introduced me to Professor Johnson, who at the time had recently published his book entitled Syndromes of Corruption, that later won a major award and led to its being put on the list of the 100 most influential people in business ethics by the Ethisphere Institute, an international think tank. That book was groundbreaking in that it identified 4 distinct syndromes of corruption that exist in different countries, each syndrome being the result of the forces and interests that are at work in a particular country. He classified the Philippines under the oligarchs and clans syndrome and proposed that any effort at reform be tailored to building institutions that will address that syndrome. At the meeting in New York, we discussed the idea of bringing Professor Johnson to the Philippines to help develop effective and sustainable reform program for the country. To his credit, he remained interested despite the daunting problem of corruption in the Philippines. Thanks to a partnership with the Asia Foundation, the HERE's program was able to bring Professor Johnson to the Philippines twice, in July 2009 and February 2010. During those visits, we had numerous one-on-one meetings and roundtable discussions with various sectors of society, including current and former government officials, business leaders, academics, journalists, and civil society representatives. The publication of Professor Johnson's book comes at an opportune time because the country has a new president who is elected based principally on the people's belief that he is honest and incorruptible. In many emerging markets, like the Philippines, where institutions are not fully developed, leadership is of paramount importance. If the top leadership is corrupt, then almost everyone else underneath will likewise be corrupt. If, on the other hand, the top leadership is honest and sincere in fighting corruption, then the stage is set for genuine reform. Follow the leader is what I hear in most developing nations. No matter how good the intentions are of the new president, however, there will always be forces that will fight his efforts at reform. This is where Professor Johnson's insights are valuable. In his book, Professor Johnson provides the analytical framework for formulating strategies to counter those forces, which he labels oligarchs and clans. The overall reaching theme of Professor Johnson's book is that reform measures can best be sustained if they are linked to improvements in the quality of life of the people. Accordingly, one of Professor Johnson's principal recommendations is for the Philippines to develop a system for benchmarking the performance of its various government agencies in delivering goods and services to the people. He posits that if government agencies are delivering better and faster goods and services, then corruption is necessarily being squeezed out in the process. I understand that the current administration has begun doing some benchmarking work with a few agencies, but to have impact, that initiative has to become more comprehensive and more central to the administration's anti-corruption initiative. We're privileged and fortunate to have as our guest speaker Secretary Butch Abad of the Department of Budget and Management, a key department in the administration's anti-corruption efforts. We hope, Mr. Secretary, that Professor Johnson's recommendations may be useful to you when you go through the budget allocation process. Needless to say, in all his career in the government, Butch has, if you don't mind my colleague,
That's okay.
has been known for his integrity and all his anti-corruption measures. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this launch. We hope you join the effort to fight corruption in this country by pushing for reform that will enhance political accountability, reduce poverty, and improve the living conditions in this country. Thank you.